Welcome into the I-80 Boys College Football Show. Chris, we got the Clemson Tigers. Now, I just got off the phone with Tyler from Spartanburg, South Carolina. And you know what he told me? I think he does finally want Dabo Swinney at this program. And Dabo hasn't texted back yet, so we'll see how that goes. Chris, getting into their schedule, how many wins, how many losses are they going to have this year?
Look, I had to think about this one. I know the public is super high on Clemson this year, right? I've seen talk about them winning in Natty this year. They're odds-on favorite to win the ACC. I got them going 10-2, and I'll tell you my losses here. You might disagree, you might agree with me on this one. I got them losing that game to LSU. LSU's finally going to win a game under Brian Kelly off the rip once. Pencil it in. And I got the loss at the end of the year to South Carolina on the road, Christian. What do you got? I want to hear your thoughts on this. This was kind of a tough one for me to predict, but what do you got?
Yeah, I got them 11-1. I got them 11-1. Only loss to SMU. Only loss, I think, SMU. SMU wants some revenge from last year. But you know who else wants revenge for how last year started? And that's Clemson, because I know they lost to Georgia. And they kind of almost got embarrassed last year to start the year off. And against Texas, was it, to end the year? So they're fired up. They're pissed off. They really didn't go into the transfer portal. So like Dabo, you can expect that from Dabo. But yeah, I want to touch on that LSU game. What's kind of giving you thoughts that Clemson could lose that game?
I don't know. And like I said, I had a tough time. I wrote down in my notes 10-2, but easily could be 11-1 this year. I honestly don't see them going any worse than 10 wins for a couple of reasons. Christian, I'll name them off. One, I don't believe the ACC is that good of a conference. I just don't, from top to bottom. I believe, there's the Miamis of the world, which they avoid, by the way. Florida State is obviously down. But the LSU game, I feel like Brian Kelly more than anything needs this game, dude. He's lost, I think, the last 3 years, the first game of the year. I like LSU. It's no joke this year. LSU's one of my teams this year that I like to be pretty good in the SEC. Would it shock me if Clemson wins this game? No, absolutely not. Clemson's going to be very, very, very good. But throughout this schedule, though, you mentioned there's another team in there, and now I'm looking at even a little deeper here. At Georgia Tech early in the year. That Georgia Tech, I kind of like this year. I know you don't want to talk about them because you're a Bulldog fan, and they should have beat you guys last year. But Look, man, like I said, Clemson overall, though, is going to be a very good team. I did pick them to win the ACC this year, though. I think they're hands down the best team in the ACC. But 11-1, 10-2, man, that's a pretty good year there. Your thoughts, Christian? I know you picked SMU. I understand why. Is there any way the wheels fall off here this year with Clemson and Dabo?
Possible. It's possible. Could be the beginning of the end, but I think they return. I think Dabo's too good of a coach, first of all, to let that happen. And second of all, I think that this is the year where everything meshes right for him. I don't know if it's a national championship, but I think they can make a deep run at this year. And Georgia Tech, you touched on them. Look, Georgia Tech has been improving year over year under Brent Key, and they've definitely done some things. They've had a lot of almost moments. They beat Miami last year to kind of derail their season. But I'm going to tell you right now, Clemson is too good of a team, top to bottom, to lose to Georgia Tech, right? I think Tech will have a good year, but there's a reason why we're not covering them this year, and it's not because I'm a Georgia fan. It's just strictly because the secret's out on Georgia Tech. Everybody knows they're a good team. So nobody's going into Georgia Tech anymore and taking them lightly. So, and I think that it's a hotbed for recruiting at Tech, but I mean, come on now, man. They're not recruiting on that same level as a Clemson.
Okay.
As far as
go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. SMU, yeah, I got that. And it's really just because it's smack dab the middle of the year. I think SMU is going to come in. They're going to be fired up for, losing that game last year on that field goal in the ACC championship. But I think if you're a Clemson fan, if you do lose that game, that might be one of the best things to ever happen to you, because that could be the thing that propels them to a national championship run.
Okay. I want to ask you a question on the SMU game. Outside the SMU game for you, since you have them going 11-1, which is a hell of a record, if they do, let's say they do beat SMU, though, and let's say they're undefeated, 7-0 up to that point, is there anybody else like that Louisville game? Would that scare you at all if you're Clemson? Obviously, to end the year, South Carolina on the road, I'm very high on South Carolina. Again, this year, had a really good year last year, especially second half of the season. is there any potential, loss there, maybe at Louisville, at South Carolina, like I mentioned?
I mean, I would say Louisville, South Carolina, two of the big ones on the road, kind of rivals there for you, but not kind of. They are rivals. So Louisville, is getting better with Jeff Brom and Miller Moss and some of the additions they've made. South Carolina, a lot of people slept on South Carolina last year, and they showed how dangerous they could be. And I think the same thing for this. I think South Carolina can upset anybody at any time. And that's always dangerous. They're a team with Lenore Sellers and Shane Beamer who they played their style and their brand of football, and they're getting better year over year. I think that late in the season, it's kind of hard to overlook a South Carolina, but I think South Carolina, other than potentially SMU, has the best chance, or LSU, to knock them off this year.
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about why I'm really high and why I gave them an 11-1 record here, Chris. They lost guys like Phil Moffa, Barrett Carter, and R.J. Mickens, but they bring in defensive end Will Helt. Had 56 total tackles and 5 sacks last year at Purdue. He's played in a big boy conference, so he can get you some production. Running back Gideon Davidson, I should say. True freshman, projected to start right off the rip for him. He could be something special there at Clemson. Best returning players, Cade Klubnik. Took some huge steps forwards last year. He put up 43 total touchdowns. The Tigers also returned all 3 of their leading receivers from last year, including Antonio Williams, who had 12 total touchdowns. Here's the thing. Clemson finally has a difference maker at the wide receiver position again. I know Clemson has had some good receivers that have went on to the league and been productive. For the last few years, it just felt like, who did they have that was taking over and helping carry and propel this offense forward? I didn't see it. The thing that has me the most excited about this, though, Chris, their defense. We know Clemson's always good on defense. They're like Alabama, like Georgia. They're just historically good on defense. TJ Parker, Sammy Brown, Peter Woods, Wade Woodass, Khalil Barnes, and Avian Terrell, all coming back. All major impact players from last year's team. I think that's got to bode well for Clemson at this point. My last thoughts on Clemson, Chris, all the pieces are in place for Dabo this year on both sides of the ball. The schedule, I think it's extremely manageable outside of 1 or 2 games to still make it to the playoff and still be in contention at the end of the year. Let's be honest. Dabo and this Tigers team, they got to be thinking natty or bust this year. If not, Clemson fans might feel a little nervous about Dabo and this team going forward.
Yeah, I think, I have just a couple things written down here. I mean, honestly, you covered a really good, you did a great job covering everything here. I have down, they returned a whopping 80% of their production from last year. That's number 1 in the country. I mean, that's huge. So I think the bar, considering the fact that they were in the playoffs, right, and made a little run last year, the bar's got to be set even higher. Cade Klubnik, right? I've shit on this kid for the past 2 seasons up until last year, and he proved me wrong. He might be the best quarterback in the country this year. He might be. He's up there, and he showed why he's the 5-star recruit that he was a few years ago. So, no, Clemson's going to be really good. I'm with you on this. I've seen people. I think they're going to win the national title this year, which is great. That's great for Clemson. That's what. I don't know. This is just my opinion, but I don't have any skin with Clemson, Christian. But college football is better if Clemson's really good at football. That's where I'm going to leave it.